Good morning, early bird classroom. How are you this morning? I cannot even believe that I didn't have this already. I was sat down, my coffee's made and everything. I had this already, and then I realized I didn't set up my video. My crew. Geez, I thought that they had this all set up late last night, but apparently they went to bed too early. I'm going to have to talk to my crew. This is Dr. Annette Feravich, and I am here in the classroom. I have a business which is called Healthy Mind, Body, Spirit. And I am telling you that so you can go to my website sometimes and check out what I have there. HealthyMindBodySpirit.net is the website. I'm going to go ahead and put that on actually. Let's see here if I could find it easily. Likely not. I can. All right, I'm going to disappear for a minute. And now we are going to adjust the video so we can see it. There we go. So you can see me at www.healthymindbodyspirit.net. And if you want to email me, don't forget you can email me. Look on yesterday's video for my email address. I'll tell you what it is though. Dr. Feravich, F as in Frank, E-R-A, V as in Victor, I-C-H, at healthymindbodyspirit.net, just like what you see right there. Today, what are we talking about? Well, I had a little bit of an issue today and yesterday trying to decide what version of the story that I wanted to give you today for our story. So today, what are we doing? We are, let's get that out of there now. Today, we are talking about the Tower of Babel. And what do you think about when you hear the word Babel? Is there anything that comes to mind when you hear the word Babel? Anything that comes to mind when you hear the word Babel? What? What was that? I still didn't catch it. Oh, okay. Yes, exactly. Talking a lot. Babble, babble, babble. That's exactly what it's supposed to mean in the Bible for the Tower of Babel. If you can believe that. There is a reason for Babel, meaning babbling, right? And the reason why our story today is called the Tower of Babel. But there's a really important part in this Bible story that a lot of the Bibles, I don't think, got exactly right. Let me start recording here just in case. I don't think that the Bible stories got this exactly right. And so I looked at 3 different Bibles and then decided on a 4th one, which is the Bible. Okay? Now remember, here's the thing about the Bible. Let me go get those books. Let me go get you hold on just a minute. I'm going to go get the books that I had, all the 3 different books, and then the Bible that I decided for the story today, okay? Hold on just a minute, I'm not done talking. Hold on, I'll be right back. Did you hear me pouring my cup of coffee? Because that's what I did. I also got a cup of coffee besides the 2 books. Yay! Yay! All right. So, besides 2 other books and the 3rd book. And I want to show you these books because I want to show you the pictures in them because they are so beautiful, as always. So this is my 100 Bible stories that here, let me get that out of the way. This is my 100 Bible stories that I bought recently because the older copy that I had, one of my sons colored in or wrote pen in. So, and I said that I just loved the pictures in this Bible story book. And the stories are kind of short, right? But they do use older language, so older kind of Bible language. So I don't very often read you stories from this book, but I have read stories from this book. For Passover, I did. And then I also like to show you the pictures that are in the book, because that is a picture of the Tower of Babel. I did a lot of research on the Tower of Babel as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So today's story is the Tower of Babel. Now, we were reading from this book though, right? We were reading from the Reader's Digest Bible for Children. And I love the pictures, but I don't like the drawings of the people. You know, it's my own personal taste. They all look like they are all short people. And I don't know why they're all really short people. And there are a couple other stories in here, or a couple other things in here that I'm not quite sure if I agree with. I think that when I started to say, when you have a children's Bible, they have to change the words of the story somewhat in order for you to understand it a little bit better. Because sometimes the Bible can be a little hard for younger people to understand. And hey, who am I kidding? The Bible is hard for older people to understand as well. So I like to use this, but you have to realize that they change the words a little bit. And if they don't know the Bible that well, maybe they're not that Christian. Maybe it's Reader's Digest, and Reader's Digest thought it would be a good idea to sell books if they had a children's book on the Bible. But maybe the author doesn't really know a lot about the Bible. I don't know. Joni Erickson, ta-da. Maybe she thinks that God came about like ta-da, like it's magic. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that people, when they're writing a children's Bible book, they are changing the story to help younger people and even older people understand the story better. So this is the story of the Tower of Heaven here in the Reader's Digest Children's Bible, or Bible for Children. And I'm showing you this because, as I've said, this really does have spectacular pictures, although I don't happen to like that the people are also short. And here is an unbelievable picture of the Tower of Babel. And actually, I have some other pictures of it, but I don't think there's a better one than this one. Because what this one shows you is that there is a city that is built up all around the tower, right? So here is the tower, and this is true. This is true. And do you want to know how I know it's true? Because we know we have remnants of this. We could go to where this Tower of Babel, which was in Iran, was built in Iran today, which was Babylon at this time. So that's why it was a Tower of Babel, because it was in Babylon, all right? It was in Babylon, and that is an ancient city that is in what we know as Iran right now. And if you go to Iran, you will see, or you can see, what they are calling ziggurats. I've got some. All right, I've got it here. I'm going to show you right here. So you could go to Iran right now and see these, what are called ziggurats. So let's look at the ziggurats. And actually, let me get my picture a little bit bigger because it's not the way it should be. There we go. Okay. Lest I forget. Okay, so all the way on your left, and if you put both hands up like this to your face. Now, it's not going to work there for the camera, but put both of your hands up like this, all right? And actually, see, and this one for me is the L, right? So if I turn it around like this, if I turn my hands around like this, which one looks like an L? This one or this one? This one looks like an L, right? When I turn my hands around like this one looks like an L. That's my left hand. So that's my left side. This is my left side. Well, for me, it's my left side. All right? So put your hands up. When you put your hands up to the screen, that's your left side. I'm going to talk about what's on the left side, okay? So what's on the left side there, if you've got it right, you'll be looking at the map. The map. And what you can see there, I have two red dots on the map. The one that is all the way to the left is Mount Sinai. That's where Moses was. That's the mountain that Moses was on. The one that on the map that is all the way to the right, that is where you could find the Tower of Babel, or what they call here Ziggurats. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not sure. And you can see that there is a ziggurat, a picture of ziggurat on the right-hand side. So those three pictures there are renovated and architectural pictures of a ziggurat. Does that not look like this? And in the middle there of the picture that I have, in the middle, what I have, or actually not in the middle, on the bottom to the left, on the bottom to the left there, what I have is a picture of, right there, that one is, I'm going to get it a little bigger for you. There you go. That one, that picture right there, that is what one of those ziggurats look like today. So that is it hasn't been restored. These are from anywhere from 4,000 BC, which is 6,000 years old. 6,000 years old, which would put those ziggurats at the same time that the Tower of Babel was built, and in the same place. They don't call it the Tower of Babel. What they're calling it is ziggurats. And that's Zuggaggarat. Zuggaggarat. Ziggurat. That's, I don't know. Probably not pronouncing that right. And you can also see here the other thing that they had was the whole entire city was built around the tower here. So what was, according to the Bible, the first tower? That's what we're looking at. So there's the picture. Yeah, and there's only 2 pictures for this story because it's kind of a short story. But we haven't gotten to the part, so those are the pictures. But this is the most important picture because that is the picture of the Tower of Babel right there. Look at that. And the city is all around it. You can see, I don't have to get my picture. You can see the city is all around it there. And look at how big it is as it rises out of the city. I had some other pictures and I must not have taken them, but I mean, to put up there. So the third Bible book I looked at was the Children's Illustrated Bible. And this one also has some wonderful pictures in it. The story of the Tower of Babel is only 1 page. So that's the story. So only 1 page of pictures right there. But you can see this one only has the tower. You can see people are going up the stairs here, though, in the tower. So just similar to the other pictures that we saw, those are stairs that go up. And also, if you look at the pyramids in Mexico, Chichen Itza, I think it's something like that. they look like they are also versions of the Tower of Babel. This is so extraordinary to me. Why we don't have historians putting more of this together. You know why? Because they don't like to believe that these stories, everywhere I said, mythical stories in the Bible. These aren't mythical stories when I have buildings out there that look just like the Tower of Babel that were built during the same time, 6,000 years ago, and some of them 5,000 years ago. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Let's put 2 plus 2 together. There was a Tower of Babel. This is not a myth. And that's the reason why we have people who don't believe. Oh, it is so frustrating. Do you want to know why it's so frustrating? Because we need God. And if we don't believe in him, how are we going to have him? How is he going to have our backs if we don't even believe in him? It's so frustrating. But here are, let me get my glasses so I can see. Here are other pictures as well of what they said was they made bricks. And isn't that what we saw in the 10 Commandments? If you watch the 10 Commandments, that they were making bricks out of straw and stomping on the straw in the mud. So mud and straw. So that's what they were doing here. They were making bricks for this giant tower. And I don't know how they knew how to make it. Maybe they knew how to make it basically from, I don't know. Noah's Ark, right? And then using bricks instead. I don't know. But here we can see, all right, so the little pictures here that I want to show you. So this says, I'm going to put it up there closer. Babylon. Babel is traditionally thought to be the ancient walled city of Babylon. And it is. The capital of the empire of Babylonia. And Babylonia was a giant area of land where we're showing you. Well, I didn't show you. On that map. A giant area of land on that map where back at that time it was Babylonia. The earlier biblical name for Babylonia was Shinar. And that I did not look up, and I did not know that. So that is the picture there, that little picture that I was reading from right there. Okay? All right. Now here's another picture here. And this is where, it's a ziggurat, not a zuggurat, a ziggurat. The Tower of Babel may have been a ziggurat or temple tower. Yeah, it was. What do you mean may have been? Looks just like it. Hello. Ziggurats have been found in Babylon and Ur. Now, right there, I haven't finished reading it right there. All right, so that picture right there. Ur is the place where Abraham came from. Of course, this was a tower from Babylon, that this is the Tower of Babel over there in Ur. Of course, that's where Abraham is from, which is our next story that we are going to read on Tuesday. Okay, so it also says, ziggurats have been found in Babel. I already said that. The pyramid-like buildings have outside staircases that led to the temple at the top. Here people believed they could be closer to God. Not the gods, the God. The God. That was why the Tower of Babel was built. And this is the part of the story that is a little different in each one of these books. About why did they build the Tower of Babel? Why did they build the Tower of Babel? Okay, so let's get to the story. Well, we have one more thing. Here, mud bricks. The Tower of Babel would have been built out of mud bricks. This method of building is still used in parts of the Middle East today. Mud and straw are mixed together, shaped in wooden molds, then left to dry in the sun. Right there, this bottom picture right there is what that is right there. And that, if you remember, I told you to watch the 10 Commandments at Easter time to watch that. You saw them in that movie, the 10 Commandments. You should watch it if you didn't, and you can get it free on YouTube. They're building the pyramids. It's extraordinary in that movie, how many years ago, from the 1950s, that they were showing them, and they really do a great job showing them building the pyramids. And then as the statue comes up, it's very dramatic because the Pharaoh statue comes up. It's very dramatic because the music is like dun, 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 dun. And the statue is coming up. So they are showing them stomping in the mud with the straw, making the bricks in the 10 Commandments. You could probably see similar things online. Here is a picture of it, and it looks just like it. So with the mystery of the pyramids, maybe the pyramids didn't have to be built by aliens, and I don't think that they were at all. No, people were smart. We weren't cavemen back then. 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, this is what we were doing. 6,000 years ago, we built a Tower of Babel, and it still is standing today. Doesn't look nearly as good, but some of them have been restored, so they look really great. I want to see one day. I hope I see one of those, because look at the way it shows that it is so high above the city. They did a really good job of getting a tower to stretch almost to God, almost to the heavens, right? And then here is where the temple would be. So they would climb the stairs here. These are stairs, right? And there's actually a picture online of soldiers, U.S. soldiers, climbing the stairs of the restored one that is in U-R, where Abraham came from. Our next story, the story of Abraham and Sarah. That's our next story. Okay, now with all that excitement, what are we actually doing today? Tell me the story, Dr. Annette. Would you please? Yes, I will, but I'm going to tell you it from the Bible, because the Bible is the place that gets it right. Why did they build the Tower of Babel? So I spent all that time showing you pictures because I'm going to read from my Bible. This is my beautiful, beautiful Bible that I have. And this is only the first 5 books. Right there, here, you can see right there, next to the yellow flowers, on the right of the yellow flowers there, you can see that there is a set of 5 books there in that wooden case there. And those are 5 different books that have, one of them it's called poetry. So it's got Psalms and Proverbs in it. This one is called the Pentateuch. So it's got the first 5 books of the Bible in it only. And I think I told you before that it's got none of the verses in there so I could read it like a story. So this is an adult Bible. It has all the words of the Bible in it. It is an English Standard Version of the Bible, if you know anything about versions, which little ones might not know, but older ones would know. It's an English Standard Version, so it is, a Christian version of the Bible. But it reads like a book, right? So it doesn't have the verses and things, but it does have the titles there. So I picked it up and I opened it this morning right before I got on. I said, I'm reading it from the Bible, or I looked at it. I said, I think I'm reading it from the Bible. None of these say what the Bible actually says, so I'm going to read it from the Bible. I opened it up and turned right to it. I'm like, I hope I can find it because I don't know the verse. Well, I looked up the verse, chapter 11, Genesis chapter 11. So here we have it. The Tower of Babel. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as people migrated from the east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. A plain is a flat land, not an airplane. And to find an airplane, they found a place that is a flat land. And this is important because that's where the ziggurats are built, on plains, on flat lands. It has to be. It's a big city. You saw that picture. It's a big city with the big tower. It has to be built on flat lands. So, of Shinar, remember they said Babylon used to be called Shinar, and settled there. And they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. Dry them out thoroughly so that they're hard bricks. And they had brick for stone, for bitumen for mortar. So they were making bricks, and they had the stuff to put in between there. Then they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be dispersed over the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of man had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. And nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them." Oh my gosh. How about that? Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Nothing. "Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord dispersed them from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over the face of all the earth. That's the story. So let us remember the time that we're talking about, okay? What we're talking about is what happened right after the flood, right? And so what happened, what they said was that the whole earth they were growing, they were populating again. So they were getting more and more people. But they all spoke one language. And why did God confuse their language? Why did he confuse their language? He did because what he said was, there will be nothing that the human being can't accomplish. If he wanted to build a tower that reached all the way to heaven, what God said is that man will be able to do it. How crazy extraordinary is that? So what's the problem? Why would he have confused people's language so that they didn't understand one another? That's where the languages began. Remember, it was Noah and all of the early people of the early times, and they became wicked, and God wiped them all out. They all understood one another. It sounded like one language. And then after Noah and the children and many hundreds of years, is what they say, that they have been, it says right here, after the flood, people once again began to spread over the face of the earth. They were one people speaking the same language while traveling about with their flocks. They discovered a large plain where they could settle. They said to each other, "Let us make bricks and fire them in the furnace to build walls. Let us build a city with a very high tower, so high that it touches heaven, and we will become great and powerful." That's what I didn't like about this story. They didn't build this tower to become great and powerful, although God said they would. They built the tower to get to heaven. They built the tower because they wanted to be by God. That's why they built the tower. Not because they wanted to do anything and be powerful. But God knew that if they built that tower, they would believe that they could do anything, because God knew they could. And it wasn't time. And it wasn't time yet. It wasn't time for man to believe that he can do anything. And so God changed their language. And now if you were talking to somebody in English and they were speaking Spanish, what would you do? You would go with all those people there. You would go with all the people here that spoke Spanish, and you would go find someplace else to live. And you would go with all the people who spoke German, and you would find someplace else to live. And you would go with all the people that spoke Chinese, and you would find someplace else to live. And you would get dispersed about the earth according to what? The language that you were now speaking and understood. How extraordinary is that? How extraordinary. God came down to see the city and the tower being built, and God said how great and strong these people are. It says, think they are. They are. Didn't we just read it in the Bible? How great and strong these people actually are. But why do they seek to pierce the sky when I have given them so many countries, the whole earth to live in? God didn't say that. God didn't say that. He knew why they wanted to do that. He didn't question why do they want to pierce the sky. They didn't want to pierce the sky. What did they want to do? They wanted to see God. Do you understand why I didn't want to read this story and why I wanted to read it from the Bible? That is so important. What they wanted in their hearts wasn't to be strong and powerful. God knew that that's what would happen. They would become strong and powerful, and then they would feel like they didn't need God. And God's purpose for his creation wouldn't be fulfilled. So he had to disperse us. Why? Because working together, he knew we could do anything. Working together, God knew we could do anything. Let's look at our questions. Isn't that a great way to have studied that story instead of just reading that story right out of the book that didn't have it really right? And I'll tell you, this story didn't have it right either. What did this say? The Lord looked at the city that was taking shape, at the streets and the houses and the tower already rising up into the sky. And God said, these people are growing vain. That means proud. No, they will grow proud if they made it to heaven, but they were doing that to see God. They wanted to see and meet God. The temple was at the top of it. They weren't building a temple to themselves. They were building a temple to God. That's what they wanted. And that is a wonderful thing to want, to build a tower. Who doesn't want to go build a tower that is that beautiful, right? That is that beautiful. Oh, this isn't the one that has a beautiful one in it. I'll put it up there here. That is that beautiful. Who wouldn't want a tower that looks that beautiful or that beautiful or this beautiful? Who wouldn't want a tower that looks that beautiful? And it looks small there. It looks a lot smaller when you aren't seeing that they have actually regular sized buildings and a whole city built around that ziggurat. Built around that Tower of Babel. Okay, so let's go. I don't know why I did that, since I'm going to go look at the questions now. I want the questions to be big. Okay, so here we are in the early bird classroom, and our story is the Tower of Babel. I have it from the Children's Illustrated Bible. I did not, because that was the one that I was going to use today, and that instead of the Reader's Digest one, so I wanted to give credit right there to that one instead of the Reader's Digest. But I actually read it from the English Standard Version of the Bible. After the flood, what was the language that everyone was speaking? So remember, this happened after Noah's flood. What was the language that everyone was speaking after the flood? What did the people of Babel do? What did they do? And why did they build the tower? Why did they build tower? Why did they build the tower? What did God do when the people of Babel were building the tower? What did he do? Why do you think God did what he did? Where did the people of Babel end up going? In the end, where did they go? Okay, so those are the questions, and there's our picture. And now what I want to do in the last 3 minutes is try and go over our questions from the story of Noah that we had on day 22. So if you want to go to the story of Noah, we did that on day 22 in our early bird classroom. All right. So why was there a flood? There was a flood because everyone was wicked, right? Do you remember that? Everyone was acting very wicked. And so that's the reason why there was a flood. Let me get my questions up here so I can see them. And then, do you think God gets upset sometimes? I do. I do. It shows us in the Bible he was upset. We know Jesus got upset when they were casting lots for his clothing for him. They were betting on him is what they were doing. They were so yes, I do think that God gets upset sometimes. I do. He was upset with the people and he destroyed them. So he must get upset sometimes. When might God get upset? Well, we know actually when God gets angry. God gets angry when there are injustices. God gets angry when people are not acting good. God gets angry when people are treating one another badly. So that's what it means when you are being unjust. You are being unfair. You're being unfair to other people. You're not giving them what they deserve. You're taking all kinds of things for yourself. And so we know, when does God get upset or angry? When people are not being treated fairly, then he gets angry. He doesn't get angry when people love different people. He doesn't get angry when there's love around. He gets angry when people treat other people unfairly. That's when God gets angry. So we know when he gets angry. If you're treating somebody unfairly, then God gets angry. What is an ark? Well, we know that ark was a great big boat, right? We saw the picture of that ark, that great big boat. Let's go look at it again, shall we? Let's see here. Is that it? No. This is from day 22, remember? Oh, here it is. There it is. Thought I had it in my slides, but I don't. So there's the picture of the ark, right? And this is the one in the Netherlands. I looked up the other boats as well, but I didn't get pictures of them. So there's one in Hong Kong, and there is also one in, let's turn that off. And there is also one in Kentucky as well. So if you wanted to see one, you could see one in Kentucky, because that's not very far away from where we live. It's here in the United States, not very far away from where I live. It's a few hours, right? It's a few hours. I live in Michigan. But I would like to see it. I would like to see how it's got to be just enormous. It's got to be enormous. So go online and look up those other ones too. The one in Hong Kong. It's very beautiful. It's off the water and under a bridge, which is a regular bridge like we have today, right? So like cars are there and things like that, but it's very interesting. And then there's the one, like I showed you in the Netherlands, that's actually on the water there. It doesn't look like, I don't know if people can go on that one, or what's actually on it, or maybe you can't take pictures when you are on it. I'm not sure, because I didn't see any pictures in it. Okay, who built the ark? Noah did. Who and what was on the ark? Two of every living thing and Noah's family. And that's it, right? Do you think if God asked you to build an ark, you would? What do you think? Do you think if he asked you to build that giant boat and everybody was out there watching you thinking you're a crazy person, would you build that ark? Because imagine, he's saying it's going to rain and there's not a cloud in the sky. And they don't even know what rain is, actually, because God made everything to have what they needed. We have no reports of other weather. So even I just read something, it seems as if snow came later as well. Snow and ice. I can't remember what I was reading yesterday that gave me that thought as well. Basically, it said it. How long did it rain? It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, but then that's how long it rained for. Why did Noah release a dove? To see if there was dry land. Remember? To see if the dove came back with an olive branch. If he came back with an olive branch, that meant that water was no longer covering the entire earth. So that's why he sent out the dove. What happened to the dove? Well, the first time it didn't land on anything, so it came back. The second time, it brought an olive branch back to let him know that there was dry land. And the third time, the dove didn't come back. It made a new home for itself, right? Yes, it did. What was God's promise after the flood? That he would never destroy human beings that way again, even if they were wicked, wicked, wicked. He would never destroy them again. Did God keep his word? Well, we've been around since the Tower of Babel, so he must have kept his word. Do you think God always keeps his word? Yeah, of course he does. Of course he does. Sometimes we're afraid and we don't believe that he does. But yeah, of course God always keeps his word. What did God send to remind us of his promise? What did he send to remind us of his promise? Do you remember what he sent? Let's look at it in the book. Since this book has such great pictures, right? So there, right, is the ark, the picture of the ark. And that ark there that we've got here really looks a lot like this ark here in the book, right? Yeah, it does. Oh, but what did he send? What did he send? And there's the ark on top of the mountain. And do you want to know why I didn't look up, but somebody else might? I remember when I was growing up that they had pictures of the ark on top of a mountain way over in that same area. Was that the ark? And now I don't know what happened to it. I don't know what happened to it. They had pictures from airplanes because they couldn't get to it. No person could climb that high to get to it. I don't know. We got drones now. Where is it? What do we know about that? He sent a rainbow. God sent a rainbow to remind us. And so every time we see a rainbow, that should remind us that God keeps his promises. That's what the rainbows are for. What did God, according to the Bible, what did God say? Oh, never mind. That was what I just read. All right. And that's all that I have. The next slide is, what is a covenant? Oh. Did I not go through those? I went through them, but I don't think I changed the slide there. So there are the questions for you. And I already answered all the questions. And then there's the last slide for covenant. Okay, that's all I have. I got to get going so I could be back here at 9:15 for the Bookless classroom. What are we doing in the Bookless classroom? We are reading. We're still trying to figure out all the way that we got the United States settled with all the different kinds of people that came here. It wasn't just the English colonists that were here. We had Mexicans, right? Some Mexicans, English colonists from Texas, or from English colonies that came to Texas, and Mexicans that wanted to be free, right? Because it was Mexico. Texas was part of Mexico. So we read that story as well. That was really good. The Alamo, the story of the Alamo. That was really, really good. Remember the Alamo. That was in our Bookless classroom yesterday. It was so good. We read the whole story yesterday. And we'll probably read the whole story today of the Mayflower Compact. So if you want another story, a longer story read to you, come back here at 9:15. But I got to go because I need a break. And I will be back here at 9:15. This is Dr. Annette. And I am here in the classroom. More specifically, this is the early bird classroom, and I'm the teacher. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.